What's up, everybody? It's your boy Kokai here. Welcome to the video. As you can see, the background is a bit different now. I was in Spain for like 2 months, and during those 2 months, obviously I did grow like my channel, but the growth was super slow because we had the 3 Chocho episodes. Boruto was on a hiatus like 2 times and all that. So the point is, not many people are new to this channel and actually to this setup, but the majority of my subscribers knows this room, right? This is the OG Eternal Hokage setup. I'm really glad to be back, and I do know for a fact, because I already announced this on my Twitter account a couple of days ago, I know that a lot of people are happy as well, and trust me, this is much better for me because I don't have to hold my microphone anymore, because that was something that I had to do for the past 2 months. I mean, July and August, right? Anyway, believe it or not having to hold the microphone makes the process of reviewing and talking in front of a camera much easier, like a lot easier. And I'm not even exaggerating. I finally have my stand here. Yes, that is a JoJo's reference. But anyway, guys, without further ado, let's get into the episode review. Now, the first thing that I want to mention, about this episode is Sarada Uchiha and her role in this episode, and then I'm gonna get into some other things in this video, right? So, like, for example, in any episode of Boruto or like any anime, it doesn't really matter, but we're talking about Boruto, you're gonna have characters talking, right? I don't know, for example, in this episode, I don't know, Shikadai had a couple of lines, Chocho, Inogen, whatever, yeah. And these characters just talk, right? Sometimes you have characters who progress, who learn new things in certain episodes. Like we recently had the Metal Lee episode. I believe that was episode 70, and in that case, Metal Lee isn't only talking, quote unquote talking in the episode, he's actually even progressing. But something was very interesting about Sarada. It was something in between, because I can't just say that she was just there to be there, to talk with other characters, and it's not like it was some major character development or anything like that. But I just want to point this out. At one point in this episode, when everybody started doubting Mitsuki, she tells Boruto that, basically we're ninjas, we shouldn't let our emotions interfere with our decision making or whatever. Obviously, I'm not quoting the exact thing that she said. And in that way, she really reminded me of Kakashi. Now, the difference is, Kakashi was traumatized because his dad committed a suicide, right? And in this case, Sarada, she just wants to act according to the rules, right? Because, her goal is to become the Hokage. But the thing is, you can clearly see while she's saying all of these things that she's not too happy about it. She's actually sad. You can literally see it in the episodes. In the episode, right? She literally tells that to Boruto, and her tone is super sad. And and then at the end of the episode, she decides to go with Boruto after Mitsuki because she couldn't let her emotions aside. Because obviously, even though Sarada and Mitsuki aren't super close, they're still friends, and they still have some type of bond between them. The reason why I brought this up immediately and not later on is it's actually a very stupid reason, believe it or not, because I was on Twitter after I saw the episode just to see what people think, because I was a bit late today because I had school, right? Throughout summer I didn't have school, so I would always watch the episode as soon as it airs, but now I had the time to see what people think, and for some reason 5 or 6 people, surprisingly enough, almost all of them were hardcore Sumire fans. But anyway, 5 or 6 people are like, Sarada was pretty much, they didn't literally say this, but they were like, she wasn't like good in this episode, like she doesn't give a fuck about Mitsuki, she doesn't care about Mitsuki. And I'm like, do people like purposely try to find a reason to hate on Sarada? Because I've been seeing this ever since the anime started. It was obvious from the get-go that she has feelings for Mitsuki in terms of like friendship and all that, because while she was saying these things, such as we should let our emotions aside, she was genuinely sad. And the reason why Boruto couldn't see it at that point, and the reason why he questioned her quest on becoming the Hokage, is because he was stressed. And obviously when you're stressed, you're not really yourself, because obviously, his friend is fucking missing, right? Everybody thinks that he's a criminal or whatever. So I don't know if this is character development or whatever, but anyway, Sarada had that little mini inner struggle or whatever, and by the end of the episode, she did decide to go with Boruto, and we get this, really interesting moments, in my opinion, where she doesn't want to admit that she wants to go, mainly because she couldn't let her emotions aside, because according to the books, right, that isn't correct. But she's like, I'm also a member of Team 7. I'm going to go with you. If you go alone, you're probably going to do something stupid. Again, I'm not quoting exactly what she said. But I just wanted to point this out because so far I saw like 5 or 6 people saying this. And now I'm on YouTube. A couple of thousand people are going to see this. And in case that there's this misconception going on, I just want to stop it. Yes, Sarada does care about Mitsuki. Don't be simple-minded, okay? Don't just focus on the fact that she said we should let our emotions aside. Look at her face while she was saying that. And even if she was completely cold, which wasn't gonna happen anyway, because that's just not something that Sarada is, it's still something that we already saw in Naruto before. I mean, just look at Kakashi when he was a kid. When Obito told him, like, one of the most famous quotes in all of Naruto, those who abandon their mission are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Again, I don't know if I'm quoting the exact quote, right? But yeah, I just wanted to point this out. So yeah, I really, really liked Sarada in this episode, and that mini struggle that was kind of resolved by the end. And finally, let's start talking about some other things related to the 72nd episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. Now, first of all, let me talk about the scene before the opening. We see these, villains, bandits, whatever, attacking the Konoha guards, right? And all I have to say is that their character designs are pretty badass. Now, the thing is, and this applies to the entire Boruto anime so far, villains, I would say, are like the weakest point. Not the weakest point, but like one of the biggest weaknesses of the Boruto anime, because we had so many villains, but most of them were like very one-dimensional. And I hope that these villains have like a deeper goal, deeper motivation or something like that. I don't want them to be like, another group of one-dimensional villains, if you get what I mean. Now, obviously, if we look at the Boruto manga, we have the Kara organization. They're probably going to be super deep or something like that. But I'm just talking so far, I can't really pick one Boruto villain and say this is a legendary Boruto villain. Maybe I can say that for Momoshiki. We'll see, because I have a theory that he might appear again later on in Boruto, because after he was quote-unquote killed by Boruto, he appeared and he actually talked to Boruto. You guys remember in episode 65 when he told Boruto about his fate, right? And obviously we have Urashiki. He is still alive. But apart from that, what can you really say that there was a legendary villain in these 72 episodes? No. So yeah, I just hope that these villains are actually good. And I hope that their badass designs aren't the only thing about them, right? Not to mention, some of those abilities, jutsus, were very, very interesting. One of the bandits had like a butterfly or some shit like that. I don't really know. But anyway, they seem to be very, very overpowered. But one thing that's interesting for me is that they didn't kill the guards. Now, this is probably because Mitsuki was there. I don't think that they're like nice people and that they didn't want to, kill them. No, I think it's because of Mitsuki, because obviously Mitsuki, this is his will, right? I talked about this in the last episode, but here it's really shown he was the one who decided to leave the village. He probably told them, yo, we need to kind of fight them, but don't kill them, okay? Because they're still from my village. I love my village, stuff like that. This is something, that's my prediction at least. And later on in the episode, when Ino checks that guy's memories or whatever, we see that it was indeed Mitsuki who actually fought with them, and we see that Mitsuki actually wanted to leave the village. I mean, later on we see one of Mitsuki's snakes talking to Boruto, telling him that it was his own will and all that. But yeah, overall a really really good introduction to the episode, an okay fighting sequence, I guess. And later on, it's all about creating tension, and I feel like this episode, in terms of tension, tension creating, was the best in all of Boruto. Now you could argue that when Momoshiki kidnapped Naruto, that was when like it was like really really like holy shit, is Naruto safe? Yes, we all saw the Boruto movie a couple of years ago, and we knew that Naruto wasn't gonna die or anything like that. But just imagine if you were seeing the 65th episode for the first time, not knowing anything that happens in the future, you could genuinely think for a second, will Naruto die or something like that. But then again, you wouldn't, because the first episode of Boruto, like you have Kawaki saying, telling Boruto that he will send him where he sent the 7th. So I actually disagree with what I said a couple of moments ago. That wasn't so deep, because as I said, we knew that Naruto was gonna be safe. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that there was this one great episode in the Byakuya gang arc. I can't really remember the exact number, but basically that episode, in terms of tension making, it was really really good. But this episode, it did it on a whole new level, because unlike the Byakuya gang arc, here we have one of the main characters, in fact the third main character of the series, potentially going rogue, and you'll potentially have all these people going after him, and we're obviously more emotionally invested, at least most of us, in Mitsuki's character. So we're kind of worried now. I do read the Boruto manga. I do know what's gonna happen later on. I'm not gonna spoil it, but regardless of my knowledge about the future of the series, I still felt that tension, because the episode executed it almost flawlessly, and just the soundtrack in this episode is just furthermore influenced that tension that was created in this episode. And when I review episodes in general, even though I don't always blatantly say it, I generally focus on the purpose of the episode, because I remember when episode 50 aired, that was the recap episode, and the last episode before the versus Momoshiki arc, I gave that episode a 10 out of 10, right? And you would say, okay, this is a recap episode, why did you give it a 10 out of 10? And then, for example, you would have some episode in the, versus Momoshiki arc that has maybe 9.5. And my point is, when you review an episode, you can't put a recap episode and a fighting episode on the same level, because the purpose of a recap episode is to recap things in an interesting, creative way, which is what, in my opinion, the 50th episode did perfectly, hence the score being 10, right? So this episode, when I get to my final rating at the end, and by this point most of you probably already guessed it, when it comes to the end of this video, what I'm gonna focus is what I'm gonna focus on is the purpose of this episode, which was to create tension. And this episode, as I said, did it flawlessly, so I'm really really satisfied. It was a really really good episode, like fantastic episode, fucking beautiful episode. Now I will say one thing that won't affect my rating for this episode, and I said this million times in the past, but every single episode review has at least a couple of hundred new people. I don't know, maybe less, but every single episode review brings new people to the channel, and I'll keep repeating this as as time goes by. Animation, obviously, I like to see good animation, great animation, whatever, but I never really let animation affect my rating, because I simply set some objective standards that are important for me. I subjectively chose objective standards, if that makes sense. And what I really focus on is the story, the characters, how they develop and stuff like that, and I don't want simple animation to affect my judgment. If on your scale animation is like super important, I completely respect it, but obviously this is my review and I do it, it's obviously I do it in my way, right? So the fact that the animation, or I should say the art, was so questionable at points in this episode won't affect my rating, but I just want to point it out, like, what the fuck happened? Now, I'm not an expert when it comes to art and animation, and I simply don't have knowledge about that area or whatever, so I can't really, include any technical terms here. But all I'm gonna say, and by the way, I watched it on my phone. I bet that if I watched it on, my computer, I would notice it even more. But I do know for a fact that there was something different about this animation. And at some points, if you pause the screen, because I know this because I need to make a thumbnail, right, for this video. And obviously, when you're a YouTuber and when you're making anime thumbnails, you have to pause the episode and do a screenshot. I tried pausing at times, and it looked so dodgy, the frame or whatever, the shot. And I don't know what happened in this episode. But despite all of that, for some reason, and again, because I don't know any technical terms, I don't know how to describe this. For some reason, at points I really enjoyed this animation or whatever. But then again, when I pause, it's like a little bit dodgy, like a lot dodgy. I don't know how to explain it, but there was definitely something different. So, yeah, I just wanted to, bring that up. And anyway, going back to tension in this episode, you have all these jonins, all these adults talking, theorizing about what could have happened. You see Sai picking up a headband, which obviously was shown to be Mitsuki's. And, it's like so serious, when you see so many jonins. We even saw the Konoha elders. I don't even know how they're alive at this point. They look like they're about to die, I'm not gonna lie. That rhymes. But yeah. You even have Sarada and Boruto going to Mitsuki's place, and they find out that he's not there, and everything is so mysterious. You have Boruto talking to Shikara and Inojin, asking them like, "Yo, do you know where Mitsuki might be?" and stuff like that. And some of these small details, I really enjoyed them. Now, I'm very happy to say that Lady Tsunade is back. This is, I think, the first time that we saw her in the Boruto series, but I do have one complaint. And again, I think that 90% of my audience can predict what I'm about to say, because 90% of my audience is male. What the fuck happened to those 106 centimeters watermelons? Like, what the fuck happened? Like, Boruto animators, Jiraiya clearly gave us, information in Naruto about her size, and you just decided to divide that number by 2. Like, just tell me what the fuck happened. Please bring back the 106 centimeters watermelons. But for real though, it was really nice seeing Tsunade back after such a long time. After Kushina and Sakura, Tsunade is my favorite. Actually, apart from... Tsunade is my third favorite female character from Naruto. Yeah, I think I finally said it right. And, her being present in this episode was really enjoyable for me. And we even get this funny scene where Boruto pretty much says that Tsunade used to scold him when he was a kid. And as he was saying that, I was just praying inside of my head, please, I want to see a short 2-second flashback of, I don't know, Boruto at 5 years old and Tsunade or something like that. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, another thing that I really enjoyed in this episode was Tsunade's reaction when she heard that Mitsuki is Orochimaru's son. I expected something like that from Tsunade, but I also expected that wall to completely, be destroyed. But then again, Tsunade is a bit older, so she's probably a little bit weaker, and, no need for any wall breaking right now because it's a fucked up situation. So yeah. Now, since I already mentioned the Sarada stuff, I don't have too much to add to this because I don't want to repeat the same things that I said at the start of this review. But obviously, after the scene with the adults and all that, and Naruto and the elders, we see Sarada and Boruto talking, right? Sarada is sticking to the rules, right? And Boruto is super emotional. You can clearly see that he's Naruto's son because they're both quote-unquote naive. Why am I saying quote-unquote? Well, I feel like yes, they're naive, but they are aware of that in a way, because like if you read Boruto chapter 20, if you read Boruto 20 chapter Boruto chapter 26, you will know what I'm talking about. But like Naruto isn't stupid. He just did what he did in chapter 26 because he has a fucking big heart, just like Boruto. And Sarada has it as well. But then again, she was a little bit more, like trying to stick to the rules. And obviously by the end of the episode, she decided to go after Mitsuki, and I did it. I repeated what I said before the review. But generally when I review these Boruto episodes, I kind of chronologically covered, the events of the episode, if that makes sense. Obviously, this way of reviewing isn't always the same because, sometimes you have me mentioning something from the end of the episode at the start of my review, just like how I, did it today. Yeah. Now, this episode, let's kind of, summarize everything. It created tension. It smartly used all Naruto characters. There's this misconception that Boruto relies on the OG characters, which is completely, like, one of the most stupid points I've ever heard. In my opinion, I think that Boruto should use the old characters even more than now. But anyway, I might even make a separate video about it in the future. I don't guarantee it because, I don't hear it too much these days. But like to say that Boruto relies on the old gen characters too much is just wrong. It's not the case. But anyways, you had these old Naruto characters here, it was just nostalgic for us OG Naruto fans, because I do know for a fact there are like a couple of people who never saw Naruto and who watch Boruto. I saw it in my comment section like 2 or 3 times in the past couple of months. I was surprised, but it is a thing, right? And by the way, if you haven't seen Naruto, please watch it, okay? Please watch it. It's worth it. You had that soundtrack, just enhanced the viewing experience. In my opinion, it was just fucking beautiful. There's this argument about the animation and how it was questionable or whatever, but then again, that won't affect the rating that I'll give to this episode. And overall, the tone of this episode, it was very deep, like very serious. And this type of episode makes you want to watch the next episode immediately. And when an episode does that, it must be good, right? Like, if you're a Boruto fan, naturally, you'll always look for the next episode. But, like, at this point, I'm genuinely frustrated that I have to wait for another 7 days for the episode. So, yeah, absolutely 10 out of 10 for me for this episode. And I guess if you include animation in your rating system, it won't be a 10, but for me it was a 10. That was your boy Tsuno Hokage. Twitter and Discord links are in the description below. Also, links to my second channel is in the description of this video. If you're new to this channel and if you're into the Boruto series, consider subscribing. And obviously you have the comment section down there, and let me know what you thought about this episode, because I read all of the comments. And yeah, anyway, with that said, that was your boy Tsuno Hokage, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.